Cool. Okay, so today's talk is going to be on becoming a millionaire. You know, what is a millionaire? What does it take to become a millionaire? Stuff like that. So I wrote down a lot of things here, just stuff that I thought you guys would find interesting. By the way, I forgot to bring my laptop home. So I just wrote all my notes here on this big sheet of paper right here. Normally I'd have a laptop and PowerPoint slides and stuff like that, but I'm literally just going off a sheet of paper. So give me a little bit of a break here. And this is a new studio too, as you can see. Lovely chalkboard we got here. So first off, I want to ask you guys, what is a millionaire to you? What do you guys think is a millionaire? What's the definition of a millionaire? I'll give you a few seconds. Well, the definition might be a little bit different than you think. A millionaire is not someone who earns $1 million a year, and it's not even someone who has, $1 million mortgage on a home. It's $1 million in assets that, $1 million in assets. So it could be from anything from, houses, from your house, like ownership of your house, to stocks, to gold, to jewelry you have laying around, to your cars, the value of all of your assets that total about $1 million. So, what is a millionaire? So it's someone who has $1 million in assets. So that's something that I didn't know. I originally thought that, if you were a millionaire, it's someone who made $1 million a year or more, but it's actually, $1 million in assets. So that brings me to my next question I have for you guys. What do you guys think is the most common job that will, help you become a millionaire? So what I'm trying to say here is that if you were to have this job, what would be the highest likelihood? What's the best job? If you want to become a millionaire, what do you think is the best job? Any guesses? I know you guys probably think, lawyer and doctor, and you're probably right, actually. About 30% of doctors, if not more, end up becoming millionaires at some point in their lives. So you got doctors, you got lawyers, so doctors, lawyers. What else do you guys think? Any suggestions? Well, there's a few more, common ones. There's, business executives, dentists, which is kind of like a doctor, just more in the dental field, right? It's still healthcare. Pharmaceutical reps, engineers, stuff like that. So we'll write engineer and executive. Executive. You guys probably can't read that. I apologize. First time writing this in my studio, so in this studio. But yeah, so those are just the common jobs if you want to become a millionaire and you don't want to be your own boss. These are, the common jobs. These are the jobs that, your parents kind of tell you growing up, you should probably just aim to be a doctor. My grandma always used to tell me that, you're going to be a doctor. You're going to be a doctor, a very good doctor. So, yeah, doctors, lawyers, engineers, executives, they all get paid about $100,000, if not more on average. Depends on where you are. Canada, there's kind of like a limit, actually. Some doctors, kind of get capped at about $150,000 a year. And the States, you can make whatever the hell you want, right? So, anyways, the top actually normal job, which I thought was interesting, was an anesthesiologist. They make about $240,000 per year. And I didn't even know that. I knew that an anesthesiologist was a job. I just didn't know that was the highest paying normal job that you can have on average. So 240 grand a year. I was quite astounded by that, actually. So so there's different kinds of millionaires, actually, and I'll kind of get to those, and I'll get to what it would take to become a millionaire. So, but this is the base millionaire, the 1 million. Oh crap! I forgot to write 1 million. Duh. $1 million. This is not going well. $1 million in assets. So that's the base millionaire. And so this type of millionaire is usually, partially self-employed. So what do I mean by that? I mean, like as I was saying before, a doctor, for example, we'll take a doctor. So sometimes they can be self-employed if they, own their own clinic. If they're a family doctor, they get to take in their own patients. They get to have their own hours. But then you get some doctors that work at the hospital and they have to be there this certain time. They have 12-hour shifts, stuff like that. So these types of millionaires, they sometimes work for themselves. They sometimes don't. So it all depends. Usually, I would say, I couldn't find from my research, but I would say that the majority of them probably work for other people in some sort of way. But yeah, it all depends. Some of them are their own bosses. So anyways, I have another question for you guys. So how many households in the world do you think are millionaires? How many households do you think are millionaires? I'll give you a few seconds here. Keep in mind that there's 7 billion people in the world. So, okay, you guys don't know? Well, there are, I'll put this right here. So there are 17 million households that are millionaires. So 17 million households that have $1 million in assets, which kind of seems a little bit low. But that brings me to my next point, actually. If you live in Canada or the United States or even the United Kingdom, that's where most of my viewers come from on my other YouTube channels and stuff. We're in a pretty well-off part of the world for the most part. So, we think that, we see, $1 million neighborhoods all the time. My neighborhood that I grew up in actually, the average house price in my neighborhood is about $1 million right now. So essentially everyone is a millionaire in this neighborhood. But, so why are there so few? That's kind of what I was thinking of. Why are there so few? And so I looked at the global richest 1% of the population. So it's the richest, you guys have had the Occupy Wall Street, right? The richest 1%, everyone's pissed at them for income inequality, right? So the global richest 1% in the world earns $34,000 per year, US. So if you make $34,000 per year, US dollars, then you are in the global 1%. So, so pretty much the average, the medium income for the United States and Canada, you guys are in the richest 1% in the world. I know, right? I know. So that's actually kind of amazing that I didn't even know that really until recently. So, but there's also one more thing I forgot to include here. So if you make $30,000 a year or more, or if you own, I believe it is $770,000 in assets, then you are in the global 1% as well. So it depends on what you have. So that kind of brings, let's see, I have a couple more things I want to mention here before I move on that I thought were kind of important. So 60% of the world earns less than 10,000 US dollars per year. Isn't that's ridiculous, to be honest. I didn't think that it was that little. You kind of assume that there's a lot of poor countries out there. It just, you figure that, the US population is pretty big. China's economy is improving. Same with India's. They're actually pumping out more millionaires in those two countries than anywhere else in the world. There's a lot of still poor countries out there. So yeah, the average, 60% of the population makes less than $10,000 US per year. Kind of astounding. But yeah, so we've mentioned the global 1%. Now I know you guys want to know, what is the US 1%, right? The US or North American or whatever. So take a guess. How much money per year does the 1% in America earn? What do you think? Think it's $1 million? Think it's 100,000? I'll give you a hint. It's somewhere in between there. Well, the answer is $434,000 per year. So $434,000 $434,000 US dollars per year. That's the richest 1% in America earn that much, if not more. So, $434,000. So that is the USA 1%. Now, how much do you have to own in assets to be in the richest 1% in America? This is a lot higher than I thought it would be, by the way. So, think about the global assets you have to be in the 1%. It's $770,000 worth of assets. And in the States, it's almost 10 times that. It's actually, you have to have $7 million in assets to be in the, I just broke my chalk. That's okay. To be in the richest 1% in America, you have to have $7 million in assets. So, kind of amazing. Yeah. All right. So those are just kind of the base numbers I wanted to talk about for the millionaires, right? But yeah, so who are the 1%, right? Who are the 1% of Americans that make this much money? Take a guess. Like, what field are they in? I've kind of given you a hint already before. So the second most common occupation or common area for work of people in the 1% in America is healthcare. So it's like physicians, and I mentioned this before. The most likely position for you to be a millionaire is to be a doctor, right? So 16% roughly of people in the 1% are actually doctors, or in healthcare at least. So what do you think is that's not the most common area. What do you think is the most common area in the 1% for millionaires? Anyone have any idea? It's actually, you guys could have probably guessed it. It's executives and supervisors and, executive supervisors, people high up in management. So those are the people, they actually take up 31% of the 1%. So a third of all people in the 1% are executives of some sort. I guess you guys could have guessed that. I don't know, the fact that there's a lot of income inequality in the States right now where, a large CEO can make $10 million per year, but a lot of the workers barely make $30,000 that work on the floor. So, like a factory floor, I meant. So and so quite interestingly, in the 1% of the richest people in the United States, only 2.3% are entrepreneurs. That's weird, eh? I thought it would be a lot more. It's only 2.3%, but as you guys could probably guess, the richest people in the world, they're the entrepreneurs and investors, actually. They're actually usually investors / entrepreneurs. You look at, Bill Gates, that's what he is. He's an entrepreneur, created Microsoft. Warren Buffett, a pure investor. He created his own company, right? But his company, buys companies. How gangster do you have to be, by the way? Warren Buffett is such a gangster. He created a company that just buys companies. And every 2 years, right, he buys a company roughly? Imagine that. That's crazy. Good job, Warren Buffett. He's one of my mentors, Warren Buffett. Great investor. Go read his book. He has a lot of books right now. So, that kind of covers the base millionaires. Now that's interesting and stuff, but let's face it. Being a millionaire is cool, but what's even cooler is being a little more higher up in the food chain financially. So, what do you think is the next bracket of rich person? So you got the millionaires who are worth $1 million a year. What do you think is the next level? I'll give you guys about a minute while I wipe the board down here. There we go. Okay.